Gremlins, Chapter 1, A Special Gift for Billy. Mr. Peltzer always had trouble looking for his son's Christmas present. This year, he wanted to find something really special for Billy. He had tried just about every store in the city, and now he found himself in a dark little curio shop tucked away in the exotic district of Chinatown. "I'd like to get him something really different," Mr. Peltzer explained to the ancient Chinese shop owner. But his voice trailed away as he heard a strange chirping laugh coming from the back of the shop. "What on earth was that? Can I look?" The Chinaman's young nephew led Mr. Peltzer to a back room and showed him a small cage. "Well, I'll be darned," he declared as he peered inside. "What on earth is it?" "It is mogwai," said the Chinaman. The little creature peered back at Mr. Peltzer and grinned. "I'll take him," he announced. "I'll give you $100. "Mogwai, not for sale." "Oh, come on. How much do you want for him? Here, take 200. "No. Mogwai not like other animals. With mogwai comes much responsibility. He is not for sale at any price." The Chinaman stood firm, and Mr. Peltzer left the shop empty-handed. "Billy would have loved that little creature," he said to himself as he trudged towards his car. "Hey, mister!" Psst! Mr. Peltzer swung round. The Chinaman's nephew stood on the pavement, a carved wooden box in his hand. "You take mogwai. We need money badly." And he held out the box. "But wait. There are 3 rules you must promise to follow. Number 1, never expose mogwai to light. Daylight kills. Number 2, always keep him away from water. And the most important rule of all, no matter how much he cries, no matter how much he begs, never feed him after midnight." Mr. Peltzer just smiled and took the box. Billy's father had found him a very unusual present. Back in the little town of Kingston Falls, Billy was having a bad day. He'd recently got a job in the local bank, but he had to admit things weren't going too well at work. It started off as one of those mornings when his dog Barney just refused to be left at home. Then, when Billy tried to start his old car, the engine coughed, spluttered, and died. "Want a lift?" It was a neighbor, Mr. Futterman, driving the snowplow. "Gremlins!" he announced as Billy and Barney jumped up beside him. "Eh?" "Gremlins! Seriously. When things go wrong, it's them that's responsible. They gets in the works and makes mischief. That's why your car won't start." Billy grinned. Mr. Futterman had such funny ideas. Billy was late for work. He crept in and stowed Barney away behind the desk. His girlfriend Kate, who worked at the bank too, offered a sympathetic smile as the chief cashier gave him a rocket about his lateness. And if that wasn't enough, later in the morning, Billy had to deal with Mrs. Deagle, the bank's most difficult customer and Kingston Falls' most unpopular resident. She was a sour, rich old woman who owned half the town. But pity anyone who lived in a Deagle property. She was just about the most grasping landlord you could imagine. As she pushed her way to the front of the queue, Billy couldn't help grinning, because under her arm was tucked a snowman's head. "Look what your wretched pet has done to my snowman statue. That dog rampages everywhere, and now it's smashed this." "Mrs. Deagle," Billy stammered, "I'm sure Barney had nothing to do with it." "I know better. I want that dog, and when I'm through with him, he'll know who's boss." Her mean little eyes gleamed with rage. Barney had had enough. Out he leapt from behind the counter and gave Mrs. Deagle his fiercest growl. There was instant chaos. Mrs. Deagle screamed and pretended to faint. Barney rushed round the bank in panic, and the rest of the customers either yelled or laughed. But the manager was not amused. Mrs. Deagle was a valuable customer. "Get that dog out of here, Peltzer. And if you ever bring him in here again, you can get out too, for good." Billy was pretty depressed by the time he got home. "Hi, Mum. You wouldn't believe what an awful day I've had." "Never mind," said his mother soothingly. "Your father will be back from his trip any minute now." The sound of the key in the door told him that Mr. Peltzer had finally arrived. "Ho, ho, ho!" he called from the hall. He was in a jovial mood, his arms weighed down with packages. "What have you got there, Dad?"
"An early Christmas present for you. Here, open it. It won't wait. But let's turn the lights down a little first."
Ripping open the parcel, Billy lifted the lid of the box and peered inside. A pair of bright, inquisitive eyes stared back at him. Then 2 paws appeared over the side of the box, and a furry head popped up. "Wow! What is it?" asked Billy excitedly.
"It's a mogwai, the only one of its kind,"
said Mr. Peltzer proudly.
"I call him Gizmo."
Billy picked up the little creature to cuddle him, and Gizmo began to lick his face. "He's great," said Billy. "Hey, stop that, Gizmo. You're tickling me."
"One thing,"
said Mr. Peltzer.
"There are 3 rules, and I guess we're supposed to take them seriously."
And he went on to outline what the Chinese boy had told him.
"You got that, son?"
"Well, my room upstairs will be perfect. It's pretty dark, and he can't get at food or water." So Billy took his new pet upstairs. "Okay, Gizmo, make yourself at home." Uncertainly at first, the mogwai began to investigate his surroundings. But gradually he found all kinds of exciting things to do. He looked at all of Billy's paintings, then read a whole collection of 3D comics, and watched TV. It didn't take him long to learn how to change the channels. Barney sniffed around and decided the new addition to the family was all right. The biggest surprise was when Gizmo turned out to be musical. Billy was quite delighted as he saw the mogwai make up a little tune on the electric organ and hum along to it. He popped a big red Santa hat on Gizmo's head and showed him the mirror. But Billy had forgotten about the lights. The mirror caught the full reflection of a lamp, and it flashed right into Gizmo's eyes. With a screech of pain, he toppled over backwards. "Poor Giz. There, I'll fix you up." And Billy took him to the bathroom to bandage his injured head. Later that night, Gizmo slept peacefully, curled next to Billy in bed.